Hello everyone, this is Rick and welcome to Astral Club. This is Astral Projection Hacks. Before we get into it, just want to get into Patreon. If you'd like to help out the channel and the work that we do here, you can certainly do so on Patreon. When you join Patreon, you get advanced podcasts on Sunday, a chat function where you can talk with everybody else, and a direct mail for questions of me. If that sounds interesting, then just go down to the description section and you'll find a link there that you can click on. Next up, Astral Projection lesson. If you'd like a lesson on how to astral project, be glad to work with you. All you have to do is go down to the description and there's an email there. Just ask for more information. Okay, let's get started. Now, part of this is based on the book Astral Travel by Gavin and Yvonne Frost. And the rest is, of course, my experiences on some of these things. So let's get into it. The first hack or necessity that you're going to need to begin to astral project is an urgent necessity. You need to have an urgent need to project. And you have to build up that urgent feeling, that feeling of I have to do that. I have to accomplish X, Y, and Z through an astral projection tonight. That is the motive force that's going to move you out of your body. For instance, when I was a teenager, if I was having any problem projecting, I know I would start thinking about girls that I was interested in, and that always did the trick. Now I didn't have to go out and find them. The bottom line was the thought is what got me out of my body, and then I could of course do, whatever it is I wanted to do at that point. But certainly as an adult, you may have an urgent need to visit an old friend, an old lover, perhaps an old stomping ground, something that really you connect with, that you feel this urgent necessity to go to that place or person. That's the first thing you want to look at. The second is emotion. Emotion is, it's one of the bases on which, your whole astral experience rests. You want to make sure that you are filled with positive energy, that you don't allow anything heavy to weigh you down. And of course, the heavy emotions would be things like fear, for instance, but also anger, any resentment, jealousy, any of those heavier negative emotions will serve to weigh you down. But the feeling of love and curiosity, these types of feelings, emotions, will work to help you leave your body. And certainly you have to leave things like fear and violence behind you, because they will actually inhibit any projection that you're trying to make. Next, there's a number of environmental conditions that can affect your ability to project. Some of these things we understand, some of these things we can only guesstimate as to why they help to promote astral projection. And keep in mind that even when we talk about these things, every individual is a little bit different. What might work for you in an environmental situation might not work for someone else due to our own individual personality traits and, some of our likes and hates that are very personal based on our past experience. But in general, these are things that you need to see to if you want to have regular astral projections. The first is security. You want to make sure that you won't be interrupted by anything. Friends, phone, pets, children. Ideally, you want to be able to lock yourself into some sort of an area, whether it's your bedroom or wherever else you're going to practice the astral projection. Your physical body has to be feeling completely secure before it'll allow you to go ahead and leave your body. Because if it feels at all threatened, even in the smallest sense, it's going to want to keep the astral body close in case it needs to react physically. That is something that you just can't get away from. And I understand in our modern world, it's become harder and harder to be able to secure this type of situation because, our phones, for instance, are with us everywhere, and there's all kinds of, noise coming from it, whether it's someone calling you or texting you or notifying you of something or other. And any of those sounds will be enough to either jeopardize or ruin an astral projection or actually call you back to your physical body because something makes a noise and your physical body interprets it as a possible threat to security. Now, most of my projections have been in very secure situations, typically in my bed where I feel, very safe. But I have had some projections, usually in situations where I was very tired. One time I was on a plane, a red eye coming back from Vegas. And, I was lucky enough to have a whole row of 3 seats open so I could just lay down. And I actually projected from that particular position on this plane, mostly because I was just so tired that I just slipped out of my body. There was, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Another time I was in a back of a van that was being driven by my sister-in-law. And I was so tired from this trip that I had taken that I just fell asleep, something that's unheard of for me, sitting in the back of this van. And I just slipped out of my body, went right through the roof of the vehicle, and was just kind of flying above it, just following it along on the road. Because it was so weird for me to be in a situation where my physical body was moving and I was kind of moving along with it just because I was interested in what it would do, what it would feel like, because I'd never had that particular experience before. But those are outliers. Generally, you want to be in a situation where you feel very secure. Posture. You want to lie comfortably on your back, or if you sleep on your sides, you want to be very comfortable doing so on your side. They mention here in the book having your head to the east. My head is currently to the east, I believe, but I've heard sometimes that they should have your head to the north. I don't have any evidence myself personally that particular orientation either helped or hurt my projections. Maybe other people can chime in and tell me that they only have luck when they sleep with their head pointed one direction or another. I really don't have that particular data. But the main thing here is that when you take a very comfortable sleeping position, you don't want to move once you've achieved that comfort. You have to stay still. Next up, temperature. Now, for most people, I find that somewhere around, ideally speaking, it's 72 to 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Sorry, I don't have the centigrade offhand. But 72 degrees Fahrenheit is your typical room temperature, so whatever that would be in centigrade. You can always just make those mathematical exercises there, although I hate making anybody do math. So I think the temperature is probably just a function of comfort. and most people are comfortable in that particular temperature range. Now, maybe you like things a little warmer, maybe you like things a little cooler. Well, then you probably want to adjust it to the best of your ability. Okay, remove all body, they call bindings. That includes hair clips, jewelry, everything. Obviously, if you have something on or in your body, like a pacemaker, you want to leave that there. Uh, but anything anything metal will have a little bit of an electrical field around it, and this can make projection a little bit more difficult. So remove all that stuff, and that includes watches for men. Now, I personally, and maybe my astral projection has something to do with this, I've never been able to wear any kind of jewelry, even a watch, because I always noticed it. It just always bothered me. So this particular thing is something that was very easy for me to do. But keep in mind, if you're sleeping with wedding rings on or whatever, and maybe you tried to project, and for some reason, like your hand wouldn't come loose, it was keeping you kind of attached. It might be because that wedding ring was still on, or that watch was still on, and it was generating some sort of magnetic field that was making it a little bit more difficult for you. And I would imagine this is probably a lot more important for folks who are new to astral projection. I don't know if this would slow down somebody who was an expert. But, if you're new, you don't want to make things any harder for yourself than they already are. Light intensity. Typically, you want to have darkness to astral project. What I find personally is if you have like a weak nightlight type thing on in the perfect darkness, it tends to make projection for me a little bit easier. Not that it's hard, but I'm just trying to let you know. And I have read that people who are in hotels, and when I was traveling, I was constantly in these freaking hotels, you want to have a little bit of light because it helps you to feel more comfortable in like a hotel room. Because in perfect darkness in a hotel room, you don't know where anything is. You could trip over something in the middle of the night going to the bathroom. So I find, and they found in a study that people are a lot more comfortable if there's a little bit of light in a hotel room. But if you're projecting as well, you might want to have a little bit of night light type of thing to make your projection a little bit easier. Because in pitch darkness, a new person may not be sure that he even left his body. I'm just trying to give you the benefit of my own experience. Keep in mind, everybody's a little different. Lastly is noise. Well, it's not last, actually. It's second to last. Noise. You want to have some quiet time. Now, whether you live in the country, the suburbs, or the city, the noise thing's a little bit different. If you're living in a penthouse in New York City and you're hearing police sirens all time of the day, you become used to it to a point where it doesn't even register with you anymore when you hear a siren outside. So something like that would probably not cause a problem for astral projection for somebody who was used to living in the city in that particular noisy environment. It's just like somebody who works in a tannery. At first, it's pretty disgusting. But then after a while, you kind of go nose blind to it. And then after a while, you don't even smell it anymore. I think it's kind of the same thing with noise. If you've been living in that noisy environment, eventually you just ignore it. However, if you're living in the country or you're living in the suburbs where it's typically pretty darn quiet, then any kind of weird noises or like a police siren or a fire alarm or something like that is definitely going to jar you awake. Now, I realize There's only so much you can control in those circumstances, but you want to be aware to minimize any sort of disturbing noise that could cause you to either fail at projecting or have you be called back to your body too quickly. Okay, now lastly, diet. You want to make sure that you're not eating heavy meals before you attempt to astral project. You don't want to be hungry, but you don't want to be full either. You want to be in a situation where your hunger is satisfied and you're no longer, you no longer have your stomach gurgling away trying to break down the meal you just had. So you want to keep things a little light if you're going to be doing projection things. So, heavy meats and things like that would they might taste great, but they're not going to help you to astral project. Okay, that's your astral projection hacks, if you will. If you like that, please hit the like button. Share it with those of like minds. Subscribe if you haven't already, and give me your comments. Did any of these things register to you? Do you have different temperatures and noise preferences and jewelry preferences? Anything that works for you or doesn't work for you? Go ahead and give us the benefit of your experience and ask your questions. This is Rick, and as always, I will see you on the astral plane.